13 seasons, over 6,200 threes, 15 All-Star appearances, 4 NBA chips, and a legacy no one saw coming. Once the greatest backcourt duo in the NBA. But at the end of their first matchup as opponents, things didn't exactly look friendly. There was tension, trash talk, and a line from Steph that nobody expected. Even Dre had to admit, this was personal.
Steph was supposed to speak before the game. He's like, I called Raymond and told him I'm not speaking. Like, I just need to lock in on the game, so I ain't even speaking. Tried to check in with Klay on something else, and Klay ghosted him. So he got pissed. And here we go. Here we go.
That's why he was on 10. That's why at the end of the game,
It's hard to believe that these two, once as close as brothers, have drifted apart. But to understand how things got so frosty, we have to go back to where it all started. This is the story of Steph Curry and Klay Thompson, the Splash Brothers. Now, both Steph and Klay came from basketball families, but their path to the NBA wasn't easy. Despite those NBA bloodlines, neither Steph nor Klay was that hyped coming out of high school. Steph, just a 3-star recruit, had to settle for Davidson, and Klay, 4 stars, but still no big offers, so he ended up at Washington State, far from a powerhouse.
But these guys didn't just get drafted out of college. They left as legends, breaking records for threes, points, free throws, you name it, they did it. They came into the league 2 years apart as lottery picks, drafted by the same team. Destiny? Maybe. But no one could predict what came next. Now, you think the moment they hit the court together was instant magic, right? Nope. They barely spoke at first. Seriously, according to Klay, they didn't even talk much that first year at all.
I don't think me and Steph said a word to each other the first year, to be honest. Like, Steph only played like 20 games that year. I was riding the bench first 30 games of the year. I'll get in. I was like a shooter off the bench.
And here's the wild part. They almost never got the chance to become the Splash Brothers. At the 2012 trade deadline, the Warriors had a deal set to send Steph to the Bucks. Yeah, that deal was basically done. But the Bucks pulled out last minute after taking a look at Steph's ankles. The doctors basically said, nah, this guy's got ankles of glass. We ain't gonna do it. So they ended up taking Monte Ellis instead. And yeah, at that time, Warriors fans were heated. Monte was the guy.
But in the end, that decision changed everything. By their first season as a full-time starting backcourt, Steph and Klay made Warrior fans forget all about that trade. 2012-13, they had a record-breaking 483 threes together. Steph alone drained 272, setting a new NBA record. Don't get me started on the coach, Mr. Mark Jackson. He made the prophecy that would go down in history.
The greatest shooting backcourt that's ever played this game.
Believe it or not, most people thought Mark was tripping. You know, I wasn't one of them. You know, right around that time, I remember watching Steph Curry drop 50 in the garden, okay? And that was a prelude to what was about to come next. Now, 13-14 season comes around. Steph and Klay continue to improve and shatter three-point records. They become the first pair of teammates to finish first and second in made three-pointers, breaking their record from the previous season. However, despite great expectations, Golden State will go on to lose their first-round playoff matchup to the Clippers in 7. Okay, that loss led to some big changes. Mark Jackson was out. Rookie coach Steve Kerr was in. Right before the 2014-2015 season, the Splash Bros almost got split up again.
Golden State, again, seriously considered trading Klay, one of their Splash Brothers, for all-star power forward Kevin Love. All right, this one made a little more sense, almost a done deal, but thank God for Jerry West, rest his soul. The man behind the logo was not having it. Jerry went so far as to threaten the Warriors organizations that if they traded Klay, he was gone. And looking back, that decision might have just saved this dynasty. Jerry West knew talent, and he recognized that this duo was just different.
You don't see him going in there dunking ball, jumping all over the place. He just plays the game. I mean, he's tremendous. He's going to get better too, by the way.
When the season started, Golden State didn't just meet expectations, they shattered them. In Kerr's first season, they finished 67-15, best record in the league. Steph, he didn't break his ankles. He broke a three-point record again, hitting 286 threes. Klay right behind him with 239, and together, 525 from deep. A jaw-dropping efficiency of 44%. One of, to that point, the greatest shooting season from a backcourt anyone's ever seen.
Talk about being on fire, right? And then came the game that turned Klay into a living legend. Okay, January 23rd, 2015 against the Kings. Klay started that day off just like he normally does. You know, he probably had some unhealthy food, you know, petted his dog, hit the gym, you know. That night, Klay put up 37 points in a single quarter. Okay, he went 9 for 9 from deep, 9 threes in one quarter. It's a record that still stands to this day.
37 and a quarter, bro. That wasn't just a performance. It was watching a guy unlock a level we've never seen in the NBA. Even Steve Kerr said this quarter was the greatest basketball experience of his life. It was out of body. Like Klay was on another planet and the rest of us was just there to witness. Klay finished with 52 points that night, and he and Steph became just the 7th pair of teammates in history to each score 50 in the same season. It was the first time since 95, and the first time a backcourt duo made All-NBA in the same season since 1980.
But it wasn't just their shooting that made this team special, all right? Golden State became the complete package, both offensively and defensively. Okay, they dominated with the best net rating in NBA history. Yet people still doubted if they had what it took to win it all.
Jumpers, I always said jumpers are like pretty girls. They're really good looking when they going in, but then when you realize that pretty girl is dumb, you're in for a long date.
But they didn't just rely on jump shots. They reinvented how you use them. Every shot stretched the defense. Every three-point bomb was a dagger to the opponent's morale. And the playoffs proved that power.
Because they locked in defensively, and once again, the power of the three-pointer sent them to the conference finals. They made quick work, minced meat of the Rockets in the conference finals, and Dub Nation was ready to explode. Golden State wasn't just a great team. They were on the cusp of being legendary. And now with the Splash Brothers leading the way, they were stepping onto the final stage for the first time since 1975. This was the moment where the Splash Brothers went from stars to legends. They were about to go head-to-head with the man himself, LeBron James, and the Cleveland Cavaliers. And that finals had the chance to cement the Splash Brothers' names in NBA history forever.
Steph won the 2015 MVP that season, but it was the finals where their journey came full circle. The doubters, the almost trades, the skepticism about jump shooting teams, they're about to prove everybody wrong.
And they did. The Warriors proved everyone wrong, finishing that 2015 season as champions. But even after that dominant year, doubters still had something to say. A lot of people called their success a fluke, like they just gotten lucky. But the Splash Brothers, they were just getting started. While the rest of the league was still trying to catch up to pace and space, the Warriors were already perfecting it. Golden State didn't just shoot threes. They led the league in attempts, putting up 32 a game when the average team only shot 24. And with the pace of 99, I don't know what that means, but they were getting more shots, more looks, and burying teams under a barrage of threes.
Yes, sir. And that season, Golden State broke the record for the best offensive rating in NBA history. We can't forget just how good that team was, man.
We started off 24-0. That part of it alone was
That's
like
sick.
that was.
I forgot about that
yeah.
By the All-Star break, they were 48-4, and by season's end, that's right, you guessed it, 73-9, the best record in NBA history, topping even the 96-led Michael Jordan Bulls. And Steph, he didn't just win MVP again. He made history as the first ever unanimous MVP. Okay, he led the league in scoring at 30.1 points per game, steals at 2.1 per game, and free throw percentage with 91%. And that three-point record he set, he shattered it, hitting 402 threes in one season. It was hands down the greatest shooting season the league had ever seen. Steph was dropping bombs from every corner, hitting shots from the logo, turning around before they even fell. I mean, that's when he introduced us to that, right? Klay wasn't far behind. He had 276 threes himself, and together they combined for 678 threes in one season. And again, that record still stands, and I think it will for some time. It was a fairy tale season that deserved a fairy tale ending, right? But that wasn't exactly how things went.
I can still see Bron clearing that shit off the glass.
I can still see it now, man. God damn. Like on the line, I'm taking it, get dollar. LeBron said, hell no. Okay, but we're getting a little ahead of ourselves because we still got to talk about how they got there, okay? So it's after breezing by the Rockets and the Blazers in the playoffs. They found themselves down 3-1 OKC. You guys remember this story? It's starting to jog the memory a little bit. Cut to Game 6. After managing to take Game 5 at home, Golden State went into Game 6 in OKC. things looked rough. The Warriors were down by 8 heading into the fourth quarter, and their season was on the line. But that's when Game 6 Klay showed up. Klay caught fire, okay? Hit 11 threes, a playoff record, and finishing with 41 points. He completely flipped the game, bringing the Warriors back from the brink and sending the series to a Game 7. And with every clutch shot, the legend of the Splash Brothers grew.
Because while Steph was the man in the regular season, when the asses got tight, Klay was the one that came through. Just the first sighting of what Game 6 Klay has done to a lot of teams trying to eliminate that Warriors dynasty, bro. That OKC comeback became a defining moment. The Warriors were back in the finals, and this time they're up against the Cavs again. Yeah, but this one would end differently. The Draymond suspension, an absolute takeover from Bron and Kyrie would prevent the Dubs from capping off this magical run as NBA champions.
You know, playoff run, obviously 73-9. Then we get into the playoffs, I get hurt, miss like 3 weeks of the playoffs, come back. We get to Western Conference Finals, we're down 3-1. Like, people think our season's over with. Come back. Yeah, so we were on both sides of a 3-1 situation. And then in the finals, obviously, I think the wheels just fell off. And Kyrie and LeBron played unbelievable for 3 straight games. Like, I don't think people talk about that part of it as much. It's always like, oh, we all sucked. Like, we got beat. Man. Like, we didn't lose. We got beat.
But this choke job was actually a blessing in disguise. Along came KD. Splash Bros were a party of 3. The titles would follow. But along the way, Steph and Klay would continue to establish themselves as the best shooting backcourt of all time.
Then we find ourselves on December 5th. Okay, Klay would register the greatest shooting game of all time. Ain't no opinion on it, all right? 60 points, 29 minutes, 11 dribbles.
Everything felt great. I mean, 40 in the first half, that's hard to do. But I was getting good looks the whole night.
How is that even possible?
I don't know. I'm still trying to figure out to this day, and it happened, all right? This game is legendary. It's almost like Klay was showing the world that even with KD in town, he was still a force of nature. When he gets hot, there's no one in the league who could stop him, you know? Gotta throw up the foe, man.
And in the playoffs, the Warriors just continued making it look easy. They swept through the first 3 matchups and marched right up to those finals. And this time, there was no heartbreak. The Warriors took down them Cavs with KD winning finals MVP, but don't get it twisted. The Splash Brothers were right there, making an impact. It's forgotten, but Steph nearly averaged a triple-double in those finals. And Klay's defense and clutch shooting made the Warriors a complete team, shooting over 40% from deep. They were locked in and doing whatever it took to win.
Yeah, man. I mean, the thing is, you really genuinely had 2 potential finals MVPs with Klay trying to make his case for the third. But let's cut to the next season now, all right? Steph and Klay, they kept delivering, okay? They extended their record for the most consecutive seasons with 200 made threes, proving they were still the most dangerous shooters in the league. Year after year, 3 after 3, the Splash Brothers kept setting records, winning rings, and leaving their mark on the league.
Together, Steph and Klay brought the Warriors to the top. But to get there, they each played different roles. Steph, the MVP and engine of their offense, and Klay, the quiet killer and defensive anchor. They were a perfect duo on the surface, but I gotta believe deep down they were just individuals trying to make their own marks.
No, absolutely. I mean, the Splash Brothers were unstoppable, bro. With KD on that squad, simple enough, they racked up back-to-back championships. By 2018, the Warriors had 3 titles in 4 years, and Steph and Klay were at the heart of it all. But the road to greatness always comes with some bumps. In the 2019 finals, the Warriors were hit with some tough luck, okay? KD went down, Klay went down, tore his ACL, and their title hopes slipped away, ending their run with an injury-plagued loss to the Drake-owned Toronto Raptors. He doesn't own them, but the Drake Raptors, okay? That finals loss felt like the end of an era. It hurt, you know, especially because you felt like they could have still won that if it wasn't for the injuries. But you knew something was over. The Warriors' unstoppable run that was, and the Splash Brothers' future was in question. But even then, the legacy was already sealed. It was cemented. They'd gone from underdogs to legends, taking Golden State from the bottom of the ranks to one of the best dynasties ever, okay?
And after nearly 2 years away, Klay finally made his return in 2022 when he stepped back on the court with the entire basketball world watching.
And together, they showed us their story wasn't finished. In the 2022 playoffs, the Warriors made one more incredible run. Against all odds, they won their 4th title in 8 years. Even though it had been a few years since their last, even more years since their first, it was like nothing had changed. Dub Nation was back on top.
That final title was almost euphoric. You think back and it almost feels like it didn't happen. The cast of characters around them, the Boston Celtics, led by two guys that probably weren't in the league when they won their first title, but still at the heart of it, Steph, Klay, Dre, even Steve Kerr, the same pieces. It wasn't just a championship. It was a statement, a reminder that this whole brand of basketball the NBA had adopted was started by two guys from Golden State. But dynasties don't last forever. Time moves on, and so did the league, and eventually the Splash Brothers. Now, years after building a dynasty together, they find themselves on opposite sides. The quiet tension that started their story has now come full circle. It's almost like fate had this rivalry planned from the start. Steph and Klay will always be the Splash Brothers, but now they're also something else. Rivals.
From rookies who barely talked to champions who changed the game. 13 seasons, 4 championships, and over 6,000 threes later, the Splash Brothers did something no one saw coming. They built a dynasty, inspired a generation, and left the game of basketball a little bit better than they found it.
And hey, if you want to work on your own game, even if you're not exactly splashing threes from the logo just yet, you need the right gear to get there. Our partners at Bodden Sports have everything you need to step up your game, whether you're sinking shots from deep or just trying to beat your little brother in a game of 21. And the best part, we're hooking you up with a 10% discount on all their gear with the promo code linked in the description.
With that being said, that's going to do it. Another episode of the Hoop Plug in the books. Put some flavor in your ear.
Peace.